guys. There we go. I think I'm actually live this time.
Yes, wait.
Am I?
Yes.
Okay. Say, there we are. Mercury is in retrograde. For those of you that don't believe in it, trust me, it's a real thing, especially for electronics. All right. Welcome. Happy Sunday. Don't forget your Sunday selfies, because I forgot to mention that the first time I didn't really go live. Go ahead and take your Sunday selfies. Hashtag JGCC, JGUC, hashtag Sunday selfie. And post those on your social media. Also, for giving, we have Whit's taking care of that right now. Hi, Kevin. We miss you and Shelby. www.joshuageneration.rocks. And also, we have a Venmo, I think. And I think Whit's going to post that link as well. Mm-hmm. So, for those of you that have been following us for a while, you have probably noticed that we've been transitioning from church to unchurch, and we really don't know what that looks like. We don't know. There's not a script or formula or blueprint to build an unchurch, right? Because it's just not a thing. I think we're kind of trailblazing that, and so we're having to figure that out because, I know how to build a church. I know how to do that. I know how to, because there is a formula, but there's not a formula for what we're doing. And so we're trying to follow Spirit. We're trying to follow, really the organic growth of it. And so a couple of weeks ago, I talked about Satsang, which is basically holding space and creating a space where people can come and talk, and we listen. We listen to hear them. We listen with compassion. We don't listen to respond. We just listen. And so I think we're going to kind of move towards that. I really like that idea a lot. And Holly and I were talking about it, and Holly mentioned, just out of note, she said, well, who led after Joshua? And it was the tribe. The tribe that led after Joshua. So, which was very interesting, kind of where we're heading. We want to create a space, a circle, so to speak, where there's no titles, there's no hierarchy, there's just, we're equal and we're all the same. And that's really, you don't find that in church. There's a definite hierarchy in church, and we don't want that. We want to just all be the same and all be on level ground and equal. And so that's kind of where we're going. And I said all of that to say this. Today, we're going to hear from Whit, and they are going to be speaking and kind of leading the discussion this morning. So, and afterwards, I suppose we'll, if Whit opens up the floor, we will have a open discussion, if that is where we want to go, or if that's where Whit wants to go, because we're going to give this one to Whit, and this will be a regular thing. So be prepared. You're not always going to hear me speak. Thanks. Go ahead. Amen. All right. All right. So again, don't forget your Sunday selfies, and I'm going to go ahead and pray and set the intentions, and then we will hand it over to Whit. All right? All right. Spirit, we come to you today, and we thank you for this space. I ask you to just open up this space, create a sacred space so that we can hear what you have to say. We can hear the inspiration that you have given to Whit. Allow us to receive that inspiration in a holy, sacred way. Help us to hear and help us to respond and grow in this place. In your holy name. Amen. All right, so here we go. I'm turning it over to Whit.
Hello. I'm Whit. Happy Pride, first of all, because it is June now. It is our first meeting for June. And I guess I want to talk a little bit about this shirt. It's the first shirt that I got at Joshua Generation. It says, "Faith against hate. My faith does not discriminate." And I like that we use the word faith and not religion without realizing it. So there's a quote that I posted on Facebook not too long ago that kind of like came back up to me as I was preparing for today that I wanted to share. It's by Thich Nhat Hanh. I looked up how to pronounce that. Good job, Pop. All right, so it goes, we have a tendency to think in terms of doing and not in terms of being. We think that when we are not doing anything, we are wasting our time, but that is not true. Our time is, first of all, for us to be. To be what? To be alive, to be peaceful, to be joyful, to be loving, and that is what the world needs most. And as I was writing that this morning, I realized I have a tattoo right here that says to be, so that's pretty cool. But all right, so full transparency, I'm nervous as heck. And I just really appreciate you all giving me the space and allowing me to share. It's something I've been wanting to do for a while. 2 years ago, we had like a little retreat called Zoe, and BB had asked me to speak then. And I initially said yes, because I think part of me realized like that's something I want to do. But at that time I was not ready. And so I actually backed out last minute, and thankfully Holly picked up my slack, and it all worked out. But yeah, I guess this has just been like kind of a long time coming. Hey, Christy. I also kind of want to like reintroduce myself, because I feel like the last time that we had like a little sharing moment that I like shared or whatever, I was not completely honest. I think in the moment I was really happy, and I said I'm happy, yay, that's it. But that's not true. I'm not always that happy-go-lucky person, and none of us are. So let me show you who I really am. I'm Whit, currently gender fluid. My pronouns change, I don't know how often. I'm kind of feeling like a she-they vibe today, but you can just go with they right now. I'm from Covington, Louisiana, and I came here to USM to get an undergraduate degree in theater. So I have a BFA in theater performance, and I live with Maddie. We're engaged, and we have 2 cats and a dog, and I'm a manager at Java Mo's Coffee Company, where I met Lonnie. So yeah, 2 years ago is kind of where my life completely changed. That's like when we had Zoe and I graduated college. I ended my first relationship with a female, and it was like 3 years. It was really long. My mom passed away, and just like my life was a whirlwind. And ever since then, I've been kind of trying to like settle, figure out who I am, that kind of stuff. I grew up in an Episcopal church. I was born, raised, baptized, confirmed there. And I was really involved. I was an acolyte. I was in the choir. I worked in the nursery. And this is all like, as I was writing this down, I was realizing kind of how I've always been connected to a church or some sort of religious, spiritual following gathering. My parents were always divorced, so like my dad is kind of the one who brought me to that Episcopal church, and my mom and my stepdad brought me to like a couple other churches in town. One was like a Baptist church, and the music was lit. Loved that. But another one was a non-denominational church, and that one was interesting, but I learned later on that they actually funded like conversion camps and stuff, so that's cool. At the time, I thought it was cool. I thought it was a nice church, but definitely was not aware of all that. So I guess kind of the moment when I really met God was when I was like a teenager. So before going to church, I always felt a sort of peace being in the church, and that's kind of, I guess, what I equated to spirit God, how I knew God. But then when I was like 14, I went to this retreat called Big Stuff, and it's in Florida every year, and I went with some of my friends, and it was like through a Methodist church, and it was really like theatrical, really big. They had like huge worship concerts, and I'm a theater person, so I love that. And I just remember having one of those like big moments, that people talk about with spirit, like you really feel spirit like come upon you and you connect with them. And like, I guess this is kind of personal. I like saw kind of what I imagined God to be. And like, I told my friends about that, and they were like, oh yeah, that's so normal. Yay, Whit, you've surrendered yourself to Christ. And I was like, yeah, Christ. But really, I mean, what really got me was the music. Like that's when I had that moment. And that's what I carried with me after Big Stuff. Like I was constantly listening to the music. Like they had an album for like that specific summer. And I was like, I went on YouTube and like illegally downloaded the songs, and like I was all about it. Um, so, but yeah, and I guess, maybe it's partially because I was like growing up, coming into puberty, like experiencing passion for the first time in my life. And that's like where my passion for God began. Then like fast forward a couple years later, and I went to Big Stuff for a couple years, but not long after, my mom was struggling really hard with addiction, and that, of course, influenced me. And so I was going through a lot with that, not realizing it, of course. And I strayed away from spirit, God, whatever you want to call them, and just did not concern myself with them at all. And like in those years, I kind of was only doing what I thought I had to do, being who I had to be, not really connecting with myself or spirit for that matter. So yeah, then I get to college and I meet Angel, name drop. She's the reason why I'm here. She introduced me to Joshua Generation, and I'm forever grateful for that. And the rest is history, really. I've been here ever since, and I love my people. Joined the band, went to Zoe. Y'all are caught up. Hello, I'm Whit. So now that that's out of the way, I guess I'm just kind of here to bring to the table the topic of releasing the unnecessary. And full disclaimer before I begin, like, I've never read the Bible, nor do I want to. I don't know. I mean, I've gotten... Is that bad? Yes. I've always identified as a Christian, but never read the Bible. Yes. I mean, and...
That's the best thing I've ever heard. That's the most honest thing. Yes. Great. Nobody really wants to read the whole thing.
I mean...
Never looked at numbers.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Well, and everyone's, I don't know if y'all can hear, obviously, you probably can, but everyone's laughing. And I think that's something that a lot of people are feeling these days, like, especially if you grew up in a church where it was just recited to you. And that's all it was for me. It was like a recitation. Like, I did not absorb or think about it, So, but like all the Bible verses that y'all have brought to the table since being here, like that's the only time I've ever really stopped and thought about it and paid attention and tried to connect with the Bible. But anyway, so yeah, not gonna have any scriptures here. I'm gonna pull a BB and start with the definition of release. It is a verb, and it is to allow something to move, act, or flow freely. Which I kind of see that's what we're doing with Joshua Generation. I think we're releasing it to move, act, and flow freely. And unnecessary is an adjective, and some of the synonyms are useless, undesired, trivial, and wasted. And an antonym is useful. The more you know. Thanks, Hope. So something that like I've really been meditating on personally is this sense of release. Man, that's what I've been trying to do for the past 2 years. Like for so long, I've only operated based on who I think I'm supposed to be or who other people want me to be. And I'm such a people pleaser. And I think that's really kind of where it comes from, or at least partially. And I like to see people happy, But, in doing that and trying to control myself so hard and making myself do certain things, I was not finding me and finding who I am. So, and release is hard. Y'all, it's a tough process. It's a verb. It's a verb for a reason. Like, it's an active thing. You have to actively release. It sounds so easy because the word release, you think, oh, release, easy. No, y'all, it's so hard, at least for me. But I tend to hold on to things really, really tight and push, That happens a lot in like, when Maddie and I have a disagreement, like I don't release and it's hard for me to listen. I tend to like push and only push my perspective, and it's sometimes hard for me to make room for other people's thoughts and stuff like that. So I guess one thing I kind of realized as I was writing and stuff was we think that by like holding on to something we can control it, but that's not true. the only thing that we can control is ourselves, and we can't even control ourselves half the time. Like, y'all. I mean, and we literally, like, physiologically, we have things that our body does that we don't control, like breathing, eating, digesting. Like, that's why, you know, if you're in a coma, you're still technically alive because your body is doing stuff without you controlling it. But one thing, like, I've discovered, I guess, is whenever you hold on to something, you can't control it, you can only change it. And change, you know, is good, and, like, your change can be beneficial, but I think the moment that we stop, like, actively trying to release in change and try to only force what we think is best in change is when it starts changing for the worse. I think that's what, like, churches have been doing a lot, period. You know, I think they just kind of hold on to what they know, what they think is best, instead of, like, releasing and making room for new ideas and fresh air. They're holding on so tight that it's, like, molding, but not necessarily into something good or better. One thing I learned in theater, like, as a performer, so for script analysis, you have to write down, like, actions, things that, like, you're trying to do in a scene. And you have to have several different actions, because if you don't, you're kind of playing one note, and that's boring. And also, like, to get what you want, you have to have different tactics. You have to switch and move. So you can only do one action for so long in order to survive in general, like, on the stage and in life. So, like, you can only lay on the ground for so long before you have to get up and eat or drink. Or let's say we're in the forest, you can only lay there for so long before you have to run away from some prey. And even, like, plants who literally can't move, trees grow towards sunlight. They still try to move. They can't stay in one place for too long or else they'll die. And I think, and that's true with inhaling and exhaling too. If you exhale for so long, like, you're gonna have to inhale eventually. And I just think, like, that's what churches have been doing, is just exhaling and not inhaling. And I see our change as more of an inhale than anything, making room for spirit, making room for what's new, and then actively letting go and actively releasing what we don't need. I know for me personally, something that I've had to release is my gender. I've struggled with that a lot. I went on a beach trip and we had such a good time. Such a fun time at the beach at Rooney. And I have a couple of friends here who went with me. It was great. And we took some pictures, and, you know, I looked great, whatever, but I was looking at those pictures and just thinking, like, who is that, you know? And as, you know, of course, as we were prepping for this beach trip, I was like, okay, gotta look great, gotta look awesome, you know? And I just kind of fell back to what I've always known as looking good, which is, like, femininity and being a woman and stuff like that. And so when I look back at these pictures that we took at the beach, and I was so female presenting, like, I literally was looking at them and not recognizing myself, and that just kind of made me stop and think. And before, I had toyed around with, like, different pronouns and he, him and stuff like that. But I had, like, a bad rejection experience with it and just kind of shied away from it. So anyway, what I'm getting at is, for me personally, that's one of the many things I've been releasing is my gender. And I think that's kind of a good topic to bring up on Pride Month. So yeah, I'm going to take this as a moment to kind of come out as gender fluid, because that's a recent thing. And yeah, I would like to open up the floor to you guys and ask y'all, what's one thing that you want to release?
Wait, I love that for you, Whit.
Oh, thanks, Ava. Thank you. Yeah. I appreciate it. Oh, and I guess, like, before opening up the floor, there's one other thing I wanted to do. So I talked about how, like, release is a verb and it's active, and it's hard. It's really hard to do. But there are definitely some ways and, like, some activities that I do that help me release. And one of them is meditation. And I know that at the Red Jasper, BB has Bonnie come and do meditative practices and stuff. And we don't have to, like, do a meditation, but just to, like, give my 2 cents on it, it's just kind of letting your mind go and run free. And like, there's no way you're going to have an empty brain. I think that's what people try with meditation, is like they force their brain to be empty. And that's just, I mean, you're going to have thoughts. But I think the key for me with meditation is like recognizing them and then letting them go. So if y'all are down, we could do like a brief little meditation thing. Okay, cool. So I'm going to set my timer on my watch for 2 minutes. Actually 3, because that's one of the options, sorry. Okay, so if you're comfortable, go ahead and close your eyes and find a comfortable seat. You definitely don't have to stay still, just whatever your body needs. I'm always fidgeting. And just trying to like center yourself, find how the weight of your body just feels in the chair. And then start to focus on your breath. And don't like force anything, but just listen to it and notice how you're breathing. And with every inhale, think about taking in the new, the good, inhaling spirit. And with every exhale, think about an active release, because it is an active exhale. Your stomach actively pulls in as you exhale your breath. Just releasing the unnecessary, the excess, the unwanted, the trivial. And maybe you're thinking about what is unnecessary in your life, because that's also hard to identify sometimes. You can't let it go if you don't know what it is. Maybe start to deepen your breath a bit too. Notice how it relaxes you or energizes you, or both. And let your thoughts just wander, not holding on to one for too long. And that was 3 minutes.
Wow.
How'd that feel for y'all?
Great.
Didn't feel like 3 minutes for me. Thank y'all for letting me do that. And thank y'all for letting me speak. I definitely did not follow everything that I wrote, but
Perfect.
Yeah, that was great, Whit.
thanks.
Thank you for sharing. Yes.
Thanks. Does anyone want to share like something that they feel like they would like to release, or maybe a way that they actively release?
I will.
Do you mind if or do you want to come sit, or?
Sure, I'll come sit.
Awesome.
Okay.
So hello, I'm Ava. I regularly come on Sundays. I have a really exciting life event coming up, and I'm going to propose to my girlfriend. And I'm really excited. I love that I get to do it during Pride Month, and all of my wonderful friends are coming to support, which is an extra special treat. But anyway, but with that, in this big milestone, we as queer people often experience rejection from people in our life when we come out, and sort of like making this proposal is super exciting. But at the same time is sort of like almost like kind of a final point in like some relationships in my life, sort of like the final opportunity that some people may have to either accept or reject me. And it's hard not to take that personally, but I know that is, and I try to remind myself that is a reflection of them and not myself. Yes. And so I am working on releasing like the shame and like the, all of that's like associated that other people like put on us. And I want to instead embrace the joy and excitement of this new chapter in my life. So, yeah.
Yes, I love that.
Thanks, Whit.
And congratulations.
Yes.
I'm super excited.
Would anyone else like to share? Or while y'all are thinking that, I think releasing the shame is that's something that I think a lot of us are dealing with this month. I was talking to Baby recently, and she said, we always forget how triggering Pride Month is. I mean, it's a celebratory month, but it's also when people who aren't big fans like to voice their opinions, and we're always reminded of the people in our lives who are like that. And
well, the opposite of pride is shame.
ooh, Ava just said the opposite of pride is shame. Wow. Releasing shame and embracing pride. Yes, I love that.
Ava said I will take credit.
Thank you, Ava. Yes, we'll drop your Venmo. But yeah, no, really though.
Well, and the thing about it is the ones that refuse to embrace pride and refuse to embrace us, they want to heap that shame on us because they do not want to see us happy.
Yeah.
Right.
They're miserable. Yeah. It's a triggering thing for me. If I see it, it just triggers me, and I go all the way, even still, after all the work, and it's a trigger for me.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get fired. I'm definitely gonna lose my job.
Quick question, do y'all mind if I put the camera on y'all? Is that okay? Okay, I'm sorry, no, continue.
I mean, you do what you gotta do.
No, please continue.
No.
I was just curious.
You can, I don't care. You can.
Okay, thank you.
I'm gonna definitely get fired, especially when we go to churches. Like, we do blood drives at churches or different places where, I don't know, it's hard. It's hard because it triggers me. I got a potty mouth. My mouth is bad. it is awful.
You're in good company.
I don't know how to talk when I'm upset. I don't know how to talk like calm like this. So the tears will flow, and I'll get really, really angry. It's bad. So yeah.
That's such a relatable experience.
Yeah.
Because we're not like taught to like embrace the pride and not like feel the shame in that moment.
You really don't get an opportunity to.
Yeah.
It's just, if you're not around your own people, you just don't.
We're defensive.
Yeah.
It's a fight or flight situation,
Yeah.
and when you feel that trigger, that fight or flight is triggered in you. And I don't know about you, but my fight comes. I'm not one that runs.
No, and that's I have to release that. I have to release the anger and the run, because I don't care how many tears flow, I will go toe to toe, and I just won't back down. So yeah,
it's hard. Yeah.
I think it's Thank you. And Sandy Hall said, "You and me both, V." I think that's something we all struggle with. And just that actively trying to stay calm while registering your emotions, that alone is impressive.
Stress.
Well, I think one thing that would be very helpful, and we should probably all do this,
double
is
for
like
you.
get a script that we need, a response. We need to write a response in our, write it down, memorize this response, and then be prepared to give that response in a moment. Because the response is going to be to the same thing, right? If we have this response prepared and we have it written and we have it, in our minds, we just have to breathe and say, okay, remind me what I was supposed to say, not what I want to say. And so that we can respond to the rejection and we can respond to the bigotry in a way that they hear what we have to say, and that they understand that what they're doing and what they're saying is not okay. Because if we don't call it out and we just walk away and breathe and don't say anything, they're just going to continue, and there's going to be another person later on that's going to be, rejected, and it's going to, and so if we call it out, we have to call it out. But I think, preparing a response and keeping that response kind of close, and even, practicing it from time to time, just so that we know it, that we can say it.
Something that I have done as part of the skills that I have gained from therapy.
Yay!
Has been like when I really internalize, like I have this sort of core belief that I am like essentially bad, which of course has come from this it's come from outside sources, right? Like not from myself.
Sure.
But when I'm like feeling those things and my mind is like running in the circle of like, I am bad and all of these things are the result of me being terrible. I have a journal where I write down affirmations about myself, and sometimes it's hard, because like we're gaslit by other people, and for me it was like particularly from a parent that like I was gaslit to believe that like X, Y, and Z was because of me or being bad or something. And sometimes even as an adult it's hard to like remember and believe that those aren't true. But I write them down as a reminder to myself, and I I haven't been doing it recently, but when I was like having a really low time, I was like trying to write down like some kind of affirmation for myself every day, and that really did help. So you can get a journal, that might help.
Sticky notes, write those things down everywhere. Write them down everywhere. I am. That's why I have I am tattooed on my hand to remember. Yeah, absolutely. And religion is part of that spiritual abuse. That the queer community has gone through, and not only are you the people that you love telling you that you're wrong, they're putting God on it. They're putting a stamp of God on it. They're making you an abomination, by God, and it's like really like I don't think people understand when they say things like you can be delivered from perversion by the Spirit of God, what they're actually saying and what they're actually doing and how damaging it really is. So.
I've been having such a hard time unlearning all of that, like growing up in a super strict religious like church, and then like just trying to discover who I was at the same time of being thrown like all those hateful words. And it's like I loved God, and they were making it sound like God hated me. And that I still struggle with that. It's so hard to unlearn. Like it's so hard.
Girl, I'm about to be 39, and it's hard. It is definitely hard, because this is my first time really stepping outside of religion. I've been a part of every religious church that you can even think of, and especially when you're African American, it is very, very hard. Like everything is wrong. You can't do counseling, can't do therapy, you can't do any of that. All of that is frowned upon, and it's hard. It's really hard. And then to add, I don't know, fire to it, I decided to fall in love with somebody that's the opposite color. So now I'm in a biracial relationship. So it's all that is hard. It's hard. And everything that you plan out in your life is hard. Like we're getting legally married September the 23rd, and just planning that is hard. Like it's hard. Everything is hard. So I mean, I get it. I definitely get it.
Yeah, it's not the joyful experience that you may have.
Right, because you have Christians telling you, oh, well, you can't pray for your wife, or you can't pray for this because it's not a relationship of God. It's not. So it's
any relationship is a relationship of God.
Right.
I'm so sorry that you have to deal with that.
Congratulations.
Yes.
Congratulations, y'all.
We are very happy for you.
We're gonna have it here.
Yay.
So at the Red Jasper, so everybody's invited.
I love that so much.
So everybody is invited. We're just still working out the details, and we will maybe post it on the Red Jasper page, let TV get it out. But yeah, we'll
remodel just for them.
I love that. Wait, but I mean, really though, we could totally set it up. Yes. That's awesome. That's so exciting, y'all.
Thank you. That's so exciting.
Does anyone else have anything to share? Lonnie, did you want to talk more about your background and stuff like that?
Well,
No pressure. Just since you're new.
It's just kind of like, just the whole basis of just like growing up. Like, I grew up like Christian. I was atheist for a while, and then I started going to church, and then after being like introduced to all of that, like just the whole world of it, then after I started like I hit puberty, and then I started like discovering myself, and then it was just like this super like safe space I felt loved in. Like I learned that it was conditional.
Yeah.
Like, and I was just like, then I stopped going to church for that reason, and I thought, I'm like, well, God hates me. And it's like, even though I would try to do those affirmations, but it's like, you get those moments of doubt, and you're just like, but what if whenever I die, I learn that God actually does hate me, and and like, I would try to like force myself into the box that everyone wanted me to fit in. And it's like, I was just leaning into, I'm like such a people pleaser, and I'm just like, I want everyone else around me to be comfortable with me existing right here, but then I wouldn't like be happy with myself. So
Yeah.
That last,
Similar experience.
yes.
For sharing that. That is exactly what we are trying to accomplish with Joshua Generation. Is creating a space where you are loved unconditionally, no matter what you believe or nothing. There's no, and that's what we want to create. And God called me out of the church to do that, and I came out and of course did what I knew, because I knew how to build a church. So I built a queer church, that was just a church with queer people, but it was still very religious, because I was still very religious, and I was still trying to unravel and release. Religion was very difficult, and still go through it, and that fear is still there sometimes. It's still, like you said, releasing that's kind of what we're doing with this, and that hit me, because I'm like, yes. And you read the definition of release, and I'm like, yes. And releasing and going to this next level, and figuring out, that's what I'm actively releasing, is the church and what to do, and letting it go, and letting go of control of it.
Yep.
Yeah, me and Holly are like,
what do we do? Oh, nothing.
yeah, nothing. We don't do anything, and that's like, oh, we don't do anything. Yeah, and
It's hard.
It's very hard, but I think it's, I really believe that, having a space and it's just a place where people can have community and just be loved, and just never be judged, and never be criticized, and know that God loves them, because I love you, and you are loved, and that's what it is. It's not about walking into a building and hearing someone up on a platform. We elevate ourselves as pastors and put ourselves on a big pedestal, literally. It's usually a stage. We have this pulpit, and we have this, and we're the center.
To be honest, it makes y'all a little bit unapproachable sometimes.
It does. It does.
Like, because I wanted to be close with y'all for so long, and it's only now when I see y'all as less of my pastors and more of my friends.
Yes. And that's what we want.
Exactly.
That's what we want. And I'm sorry, I'm so emotional.
No, me too.
But because it is like it has to fall apart, and that's the hardest part, is letting it fall apart so that it falls into place. Because I can't control it falling apart.
Or the falling into place. I mean, you can influence it. You can influence it. Yeah.
I know how to build it. I just don't know how to let it fall apart. And that's been, and I've lost a lot of people. Because I'm not religious enough, or, and I renounced Christianity. Jesus wasn't a Christian. Thank God. And that's been, lost a lot of people. But I just feel like there's got to be a place.
It's like it's your baby, and you're letting it go off to college.
Yes. Yes. Kind of like that. Or giving them the keys to my car.
Yeah.
I talk about I have a book on tarot, and the Hermit has come up a few times, and the Hermit is 9, and in numerology, 9 represents the difficult choice that we make in moving forward, because the 8, even though it's a place of perfect balance and stability, we can't grow there, and we will inevitably die there if we don't leave. And 9 is that really difficult point of letting go
Yeah.
and like, you know, moving forward so that we can reach the 10 of like the completion of this journey.
I love that.
And the movement, and you know, that's exactly what we was just saying. Letting
Yeah.
it move, allowing it to move, allowing it to move, because the church has been stoic. It's just been stagnant. It's not moving.
Yeah. Church in general.
Yeah.
I wonder if other religions are experiencing similar things.
Well, the church, the church as we know it is it's just not going to make it.
Yeah.
It is really on life support.
You can tell, you can feel the shift.
Yeah, you can
Definitely feel the shift. You can feel everything falling apart, because I was, again, I'm gonna lose my job. I was at work at a blood drive, and me and this guy, we were just toe to toe about the rainbow, and he kept about the rainbow and pride, and oh well, y'all stole the colors, the rainbow is for God's promise. And I'm just like, okay, idiot, you're absolutely right. It's for God's promise for everybody.
Yes.
And I'm like, okay, I gotta stop. I'm not to just, I'm not to just go there. And
You're here, he's here.
yeah, and
Just
sometimes
saying.
it's just hard. It's just hard because, I don't know, it's just really hard.
It's getting better. It's slowly, you know, getting better. And things are
Yeah.
changing.
Oh, and even my tattoo is a trigger. It's my goddess tattoo. Oh, that always starts the conversation. It's, I don't know. It's just, it's a trigger. It's everything. And I've been really, this past month has really, because I've been back at work 2 months. Past 2 months has really been rough. It's been hard.
Yeah, I think surrounding ourselves in spaces where we feel appreciated and
Empowered.
yeah, it's really important.
I agree.
So
This is my safe space, just so y'all know, with all the people, and I thank you for being that to me.
same.
Definitely.
Yeah.
It's important to find your tribe. You have to find, I think that's the only way you can really make it through life, and to also break the boundaries and the chains that religion put on you. You have to find your tribe.
Yes. And that society put on you.
Yeah.
Did you want to share?
I feel like I need to.
Please, please.
I have such a similar background, like what you were talking about, and then what BB was talking about. For the longest time, like you talked about, like how that love from the church was conditional. And when I was younger, church was so important to me because it was the first place that I felt accepted. And then, I don't want to cry on live. But then, you know, I was like 14 or 15, and I fell in love with my best friend. And we went to church together, and that was so, it was something that was like I could never admit to myself, and that was so like fundamental to shaping like how I felt about love. And then also like mixed in, like we were both so big in the church and such a big part of like the church community, and I went from like 2 or 3 different churches and struggling with that feeling of like, if like I stayed in the closet for such a long time, even with people from my hometown, they don't know. Like, and it's almost at this point, it's like I don't feel like it's their business to know. Like,
Right.
this is mine, and this can be for like the people I have in my life now.
Right.
But I remember once I realized like the love that the people had for me was conditional, I felt like the love that God had for me was conditional. And I felt like I had this secret that like I needed to hide from God himself, because you know, he wouldn't be able to love me if I loved a woman. And it got to a point where it was like one of the last times I went to church, I had to make the decision of either like I could reject something that was because there's so much more to the queer identity than like who you're attracted to. Like we navigate life so differently, and there's so much culture and so much community that like I couldn't let myself be a part of. So I had the choice to either reject something that was such a big part of my identity, or reject the church, and then feel like I had to reject God too. And I made that decision to leave. But I'm probably gonna cry. I remember one of the last times, I was gonna tell you about it actually. One of the last times I went to church, I used to be so spiritual, and I remember it was like the last thing God said to me at one of the last services was, I promise one day you will find a church in front of which you don't have to be afraid anymore. And
I came and I got a reading from BB. And she invited me to church.
Was this Oceans? Was this one of the Oceans people?
No.
Okay.
She invited me to come. And I was so scared to. And you asked, what are we releasing? And for me, it's been the fear of trying to re-enter a community. Because community's always been so important to me. But I associate it so strongly with rejection that I've been afraid to let any kind of new community in my life because I didn't want to have to feel that again. And now I feel like I've made it to a place where I don't have to be afraid of that anymore.
Thank you for that.
Thank you so much.
I really thank you for that.
I definitely
And I
understand
want to say
that.
this to you, and this is one of the first things that God spoke to me when I lost the church. I lost the church, and I was so angry because the way God spoke very clearly to me and said, I'm not the church. And the church is not me. And their actions are not mine.
So, you were the first person that was like a person of any kind of faith that made me feel like I didn't have to choose between more like a relationship with God and like actually being who I am. The last time, I promise y'all, when I came to church that first time, it felt like a veil was lifted and God was like, welcome back. Like, I missed you.
Oh.
That's awesome. So I can definitely understand that because I ran from BB for so long. She invited us to church many times, and then Susan started inviting us. And we were like, oh, shit. So now Susan is in on it, but I just didn't. I was a part of so many churches, and my last church, it really broke me because like my best friend was going to this church and she was big on, she actually invited me to this church and she was big on the, oh, if you're gay you're going to hell. And I think what really pissed me off about her is now you're in a relationship with a woman and I don't know, so I definitely understand. And once we finally came, Brittany was like, did you feel that? I was like, yeah, I just didn't. I ran for so long because I did not want to be a part of another community. I just did not want to go through you say one thing wrong where I'm going to go to hell, and that's it, I'm just leaving. And I don't know. So we're here, and we love it.
We love y'all. Thank you.
You're so aggressive.
I'm not aggressive.
No, that's a lie because she didn't even give me a choice. I came reading, and when I was walking out the door, she was like, well, I'll see you at 11 tomorrow.
I love
Yeah,
that.
no, both of them texted me one time. They were like, get your ass out of bed. We're coming to get you in 10 minutes.
Well, that's what I did with Lonnie. We were talking. We worked one shift together, y'all. One shift. And by the end of it, I said, I'll see you Sunday. So,
And you know it's serious when she gets Pops involved.
yeah.
That's how I became treasurer. Pops got me to stay for lunch one day.
Love that.
Baby's like, I think I need backup.
It all started with karaoke buzz.
Yep. And the thing about it is like we have a good time no matter where we are. We're at church, we have a good time. We're out, we just have a good time, and that's what it's about, in the moments, and that's all the moments that's church. We're supposed to have a fun life. We're supposed to live an abundant life. Scripture clearly says where the Spirit of God is, there's freedom. Hello, how much freedom did you find in religion?
Yeah.
None. Zero.
Yeah.
An abysmal amount.
You did as long as you were what they wanted.
Absolutely, and that's
Yeah.
not slavery.
Oh, yep. Yeah, when Angel first brought me to the church, it definitely appeared to me as like just a place to meet God and grow, and a place of freedom for sure.
And Zoe, you mentioned Zoe. Zoe was that moment, that tower moment. That's when it began. Like it's the tower moment for all of us.
Yeah, no, seriously though, like
it all started just.
Yep, because it was Zoe. For me personally, it was Zoe, graduation, mom's death, breakup. Like, yeah. And I had no idea. Did anyone else care to share anything about release or not? I appreciate you all. If we're not, okay, I'm gonna put it back on my face so y'all aren't worried about it. So I can worry about it for y'all. No, I appreciate you all, and especially those of y'all online as well. There's a lot of comments that we'll have to go back and read, but I appreciate you all for letting me lead this, and for y'all, not lead, but begin.
Facilitate.
Yeah, we're just trying to stray away from leaders.
We are. We don't want any leaders.
You facilitated this very
Facilitated,
well.
yes. And
That's a great word.
there we go, facilitate, yes. And I think, I think we're all leaders in a way, and I think this is a way for us to step up. I could see each and every one of y'all in this room doing this, one Sunday, if you feel comfortable. And yeah, so thank y'all so much. I appreciate y'all. I guess this is when we say goodbye. Oh, I did want to do like one prayer right before we ended, though. And I've never prayed for other people before, so this is also a first. Okay. Spirit, first of all, thank you so much for this. Thank you for these people. Thank you for this gathering. Thank you for this divine, perfect timing day. Thank you for your love, and I just pray that whenever we release, we feel you, and we feel your space. Amen. Thank y'all. We'll see y'all soon.